Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 21 of Sovereign AF Podcast. I'm your host, Regina Cornelio. I'm here with my beautiful co host, Cynthia Clark.
Hey.
And this is one of the episodes we've been waiting for. Man, we had Parasites Part 1 last year, episode 13, I believe, with Alexia, our most viewed episode by far. And we were just scratching the surface. We are going to go deeper into the agendas and we're going to get weird today.
Yep.
So
Love it. I'm so
hopefully you're
excited for being
open-minded.
here.
Yeah, hopefully you're open-minded and welcome. Thank you for coming back. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, girls.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. Today's episode is going to be still about parasites, but I really do try to cover parasites from two different aspects of the world. And everyone, like the last episode, if you haven't watched it, go check it out now. We covered how to get the physical little like worm parasites out of your body. They're in your gut, they're in your blood, they're in your brain, they're in your nasal cavities, they're everywhere. It's if you ever feel that feeling of stuff moving under your skin, it makes you really think. And it makes you notice how many people like reach around and do little scratches all over their body when you're out in public. It's disgusting once you know about the real parasites of the body. So we covered that and how to get them out with as much like ease and minerals and going slow and steady, killing those bugs basically
Mm.
as we can. And then the second part of my channel, it's like half videos on health and then half videos on fiction. And the reason why I look at fiction so much, especially if you have lived the past 4 years being aware of how our current history is kind of already going under the rug, you'll notice that, like, oh my gosh, day by day, we're losing history. And many of us truthers, we can't find simple articles that we were, let's say, able to find before 2020. This goes into the censorship of social media, which there are huge lawsuits on people's freedom of speech and the social media. We have yet to see how that plays out. A lot of people don't understand it, and that's kind of how parasites in our legal system work. They make these laws and everything. Well, they're in cahoots with these giant corporations, and these giant corporations are basically acting as lobbyists, um, masquerading as social media networks. And in doing so, they really do take away our First Amendment right. I haven't been on Facebook or Instagram for a month now, because I was doing some research over there and I was doing my first like live. I'll do a cleanse with you. Let's meet up every other day in my chat, that kind of thing. And I was getting a lot of people joining because I was doing like a live um detox along, where usually I kind of go quiet for the full moons and I tell you guys what to do. Like
Mhm.
I have put hundreds of hours of out there. Like you guys know what to do. You do it the full moon. And this time I was doing it with the people. So I got definitely taken down. But the problem with that legally, and I'm gonna try and keep this upbeat because it's a fiction parasite episode. That's fun stuff, but there is a lot of boring legalese surrounding how parasites work. And I don't know if anyone has seen Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but it explains how the most evil aliens in the universe, they
Mhm.
work on bureaucracy and they work by making everything so boring and so tedious and so contract driven that you don't even think you can attempt to beat like the beast basically. Um and that's really how these real life demons slash aliens kind of work in our society. They really do work through the legal system. So I'm
Mhm.
going to share my screen.
Okay.
And we're going to go through. Oh, I want to show you guys all my past fiction work up until this point, just because, like, there's a lot of hours over there with a
I have
lot of
a
really good people.
real quick
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Alexia, your Harry Potter stuff, does that go into this or is that different?
So that's my most recent
Okay.
fiction deep dive is the Harry Potter
Okay.
series I did with Jenny Constantine and Alexis Rose with Ascension Diaries.
Mm.
That really did like wipe us out. I yeah, we put like 10 hours into that. I
Wow.
don't want to like even think about Harry Potter again because each 10-hour, each 1 hour video has
Yeah.
5 to 7 hours of research and putting everything together beforehand.
Right.
It was amazing. We really delved deep, and a lot of people saw stuff that like everything I bring up with fiction, everyone's heard about. It's just the connections that people I think are missing,
Yeah.
or tend to overlook. So we really do a deep dive with the Harry Potter. Yeah,
Okay. Cool. I wasn't sure if that was along the same lines like what you're talking about.
for sure. So, if and I'll show my opening sequence of my series called Series of Seven, just because I want you guys really to listen to the words of the song and like basically the opening dialogue because it really does explain why we have to look at fiction the way we need to look at fiction. So I'm going to share my screen. Is there any questions, Cynthia, Regina, before we start
No,
going?
all you. Let's go.
Yeah, let's dive in. We're ready.
Alrighty. How do I share sound optimize?
Yeah, and just a reminder for our viewers that you guys can ask questions throughout. I'll try to get to them as we go. Hey, Jamae.
No one knows, no one knows. We all woke up in a upside down, turning inside out, like we've all been led astray. We've been standing on the outside in, trying to find our friends, like we're all just castaways. Feel like we've been missing.
Alrighty. So that's my opening for whenever I do a fiction video. And I have a series over here on WikiLeaks called Series of Seven, where we cover fiction covering real life events. And the reason this is important, it's not even like I'm the first one to think about this. Basically, anyone who has mastered a subject enough to know how that subject has been taken over by parasites in the media, in government, in health, in any kind of industry field. Once you master a subject, you kind of see how it's being lied to the
Mm,
world. And
yeah.
technically, when I got kicked off Facebook, I was explaining how Dr. Sebi's research
Ooh.
was ever so slightly tweaked that makes it kind of not be beneficial. And it went into, I love sea moss, I love hydrogen peroxide, and I love his diet he puts everyone on, but everything, hydrogen peroxide, sea moss, the diet itself he talks of are acids. But basically, a guy that we're told is Dr. Sebi, but totally has a different name right before he died, came out with these books written by white guys saying, oh, yeah, he liked alkaline this, alkaline that. And it's like, you guys, swamp is alkaline, sewage water is alkaline. You guys, yes, Dr. Sebi was correct, but he never ever mentioned the word alkaline. And actually, everything he talks about is acid. So they get something truthful and parasite it into a 90% truth and put their quite literal sewage into the matter so that it doesn't work and people are ever so slightly wrong, but they do so in a way that makes it seem like it's the correct information. So those people think they're being freedom fighters, telling everyone to drink alkaline products, when in reality, they've heard this parasitic version of a real story. And this happens every single day in real life. We see it in our political field. It is a election year right now, as I'm speaking. So you're hearing Donald Trump say something and immediately mainstream media, right wing and left wing, only showing teeny parts of his speech. And it's like, I just watched that. You're already like melding a human's words into something he didn't say. And we see this, this isn't the first time, it's politics, but this is literally the parasitic nature of making something truthful into a 90 or 50% truth. So how we have to ask ourselves, like, okay, this is happening in real time. How has it happened 10, 15, 20, 300, 400 years ago? And the truth is, we only know our history back to 1700 years ago, because that's when we started having to deal with a lot of these revolutions. There's been so many world wars that artifacts and libraries get um go under siege, basically. And we lost so much truth every 300 years, 400 years with these massive wars. And there's been a lot of artifacts and old ancient books being handed off, and a lot of code when they are handed off. So we basically look at just the mythology and these stories that have endured the test of time. And I don't know if you guys caught it, but the reason I wanted to show um, my opening credits was it's explaining that Lord of the Rings, written by Tolkien, has his Gladriel character say history became legend, legend became myth. 2,500 years, the ring passed out of knowledge until when change came, the ring ensnared a new bearer.
Hmm.
And this is literally Tolkien saying, if something happens, if a great conflict happens, people almost are wanting to cut it out of our history because it is a hard time that has ravaged villages. And if they are lucky enough to remember that it happened at all and not be influenced by politics of the time, it's almost like people don't want to speak of the undecency of war, and it goes as a myth or as a legend, and it's just goes into fiction. So when you talk about real things like Nicholas Flamel, he was a very real person in real life, and really not only did alchemy, but he worked with like world governments, and his name was actually attached to a lot of different world governments around the time of his life. But if you go look it up now, it just pulls up a bunch of Harry Potter stuff like, ooh, Nicholas Flamel, he's so cool. It's just a fiction book. And it's like, no, he's not. He wasn't fictitious. He was a real man. But the way that you can utilize fiction to tell stories and remind people of the past, sadly, a tool is a tool. It can also be used by the dark ones to hide what actually happened.
Yeah.
Because when people think of Nicholas Flamel, you're just going to think of Harry Potter. You're not going to think of the actual man and what he actually did. Um, for example, Nicholas Flamel is always tied to the Philosopher's Stone, because the Philosopher's Stone, everyone's always trying to look for immortality. And Philosopher's Stone is one of the ways that people can become immortal. Not the only way, but one of the ways. And it's a metal element. I think gold is involved somehow, and it can keep people alive, which is why why we see Voldemort try to receive the Philosopher's Stone in the very first book. So, that was one time in our lifetimes that we were able to see fiction covering up real life history. Because if people all knew about Nicholas Flamel, when they heard that CERN, the particle collider, is actually basically transforming a substance which is very similar to lead, which depleted uranium is actually a substance very, very similar to lead. And if you apparently particle collide these two like lead similarity pieces together, it will create gold. And you can have an unlimited amount of money. And if you knew Nicholas Flamel's work, you would realize that, okay, his what he was always wanting is actually being done at CERN. And then goodness knows how they're utilizing that for the elites and everlasting like immortality. So why I bring that up is because we think Tolkien as an ancient artifact of yesteryear, but the very truth is that Tolkien was around to see early Disney films, especially like Merlin and the I don't even know what it's called. The Disney's take on
Fantasia.
Merlin. What was that?
Fantasia.
So he was able, yeah, so he was able to be around for everything pre-Snow White, basically.
Yeah.
And then Snow White came out and Tolkien just lost it because, first of all, a lot of these fairy tales, they were not meant for children. Anyone who knows Grimm's fairy tales knows that fairy tales are much more of the horror genre than anything else. A lot of them come from Germany, which is huge because we just got out of the World War II during this time. Tolkien obviously fought in military, so it was very fresh that this crazy world war had taken place, where there was a lot of hiding of truths, a lot of ruining of artifacts, and now these ancient stories that are very, very important in including dwarfs and dwarfs. I highly suggest everyone go check out the YouTube video explaining why Tolkien hated Disney. And it explains like he freaked out that dwarfs were portrayed as funny, stupid little characters, when in reality, all these ancient texts show dwarfs being wonderful, wonderful craftsmen and very, very intelligent, very, very hardy, very, very proud, and making them into the seven dwarfs and making that story happen how it happened. Um, it really mattered. Just like I explained earlier, when you change something ever so slightly, you change the entire story and what it possibly meant. So Tolkien was like, my stuff will never be remade by Disney because I see what he's doing to our history. And I see, he's a wonderful, brilliant creator. And it's beautiful, but it's that beauty, which is what we know as MK Ultra. It's that beauty which is making people dumb to the real story. Let
Yeah.
me see. So if you haven't heard of me, this is my RickyLeaks.com. I try and put all the main stuff here. I really need to go and update it. I could probably copy and paste a lot of my Telegram channel and just make a blog overnight because I have that much information. A little bit about me. I was well known and well seen on Twitter before we all got kicked off. I was kicked off. My last tweet was, "Hey, you guys, hashtag parasites is trending." And like within 3 minutes, me, Donald Trump, we all got kicked off because
Wow.
I'm pretty sure hashtag parasite was trending, and all of my research for like 2, 3 years was explaining how Trump is like really fighting against this ancient parasitic alien race, which is utilizing like airwaves. And I had proof. I had huge threads with other people's very real scientific data. And
Mhm.
I had 14,000 people that Twitter stopped me at, but for every new person I would get, I would lose a person. So I had like a total of 30,000 people follow me total. So I was getting recognition and everything. We all got kicked off in 2021 from Twitter, and I just ran over to Facebook and Telegram, and I started putting all my stuff there. So if you want the Telegram group, I tell everyone, if you want Telegram but you don't want it taking up stuff from your phone, just go to settings and the storage and disallow Telegram to like save to your
Mhm.
storage. A lot of people don't like that part of it, but if you just turn it off, it's just like any other app, and you'll be able to get all of a lot of my old stuff, a lot of old protocols, a lot of free PDFs, a lot of stuff that we've already covered for most sicknesses. And then Rumble is all my full moon videos concerning parasites and fiction videos. So why I also cover why people will be needing to detox first is you really will not be able to understand what I'm talking about with the fiction stuff until you do a cleanse. And it really is um cognitive related. A lot of us have so many. I tell everyone we all are on the autism spectrum. Once you look at the symptoms of autism, dementia, and Alzheimer's, first of all, you're going to realize that they're all the same. And then you're going to realize, oh, I have a good 30% of them. So that would mean you technically are on the spectrum. And they really were able to give dementia and Alzheimer's to kids with injections. And that's why dementia started happening at 3 years old, 5 years old, because what it really was filling the children with both parasitic larva, which is in the ingredients, as well as heavy metals. And the body doesn't know where to place some of these things, and it just places it in your brain synapses.
Mm.
So a lot of us, we've all been there going into the kitchen on a mission, and you get there and you're like, what did I come in here for? Or little things that
Mm-hmm.
we joke as with
Yep.
ADHD. It's like, no, your brain went to make a connection and go to the next, process, and it met a parasitic poop or a body or a calcium shard or an actual heavy metal shard. And the
Mm-hmm.
thought couldn't be continued because
Wow.
it had a blocked synapses. So you're not going to be able to watch any of these, and you're going to think I'm crazy if you try to watch this stuff before you do a cleanse. So I definitely
Mm.
make it like very clear, like, here's how you cleanse. Do it very slowly. We don't want to overdo your liver, but we need to make sure you have enough positive minerals. Yes, negative minerals are very pushed, but they're not the ones you need. That's why your thing isn't working. Oh, you're listening to that guru? Well, ask her if she wants a nut. If she can't have a nut, then she's clearly not healed enough. Oh, you want me to look at this guy's video? Why does he have a head full of gray hair? Clearly, he hasn't cleansed himself out enough to get rid of the metal coming out of his hair. So, like, you'll start to realize the people around us are a lot of talkers, but they still
Mm-hmm.
have a thyroid disease. They still have an autoimmune disease. And it's like, okay, well, you haven't healed yourself. So I'd rather talk to someone who doesn't have any of those problems, has done 6 months of cleansing. I don't care if you're a little bit heavy because you will go up and down in weight like your entire detox, and there's several reasons why, but some people in our detox field are so scared of gaining weight, but it's like when you guys realize that you're an electrical being, then you understand the need for electrical insulation. And yes,
Mm-hmm.
if you haven't
Yeah.
cleansed, then your fat stores and your fat cells are going to be holding toxins, and the only way to get
Mm.
those out is to give yourself, I always tell people, give yourself like 5 or 7 pounds of extra insulation before you do a really good cleanse. And I got pretty heavy at the beginning of this year because I was going to do a huge cleanse. I did purging from emotional stuff. I did a little mini exorcism with Jeff. I did the exorcism the day before I got kicked off of Facebook. So we were cutting all that no longer served us.
Oh,
Yeah, like it's
wow.
big, you
That's
guys.
fitting.
Um,
Mm.
I, yeah, that same week my TV blew up. So I lost my social media. I lost my real media. I was like forced to do housework and clean my house and be with myself and like do stuff because when you cut all that does not serve you out of your life, it's not just like it's very serious. And guess what? I lost a bunch of weight, but it was because I gave myself some padding to be able to easily use the fat almost as a tool to grab all this toxins and
Yeah.
just pull it out of your body. And it really does work like that. I work with so many people who have autoimmune diseases. They're very, very skinny. And yes, they still have toxins, but they have no fat, literally able to pull out those toxins.
Mm.
But if they listen to the fake detox world, they would think they're healthy. But I know that you're not healing because you don't have this basic insulation to be able to pull stuff out. So there is a huge fake detox community.
Yep.
So I'm constantly going, it's like a salmon swimming uphill. Like it's so, so hard to get people to realize like you have been
Mm.
sold 90% truths.
Yeah.
And that's why I tell people keep a journal. Do the fakes, do the fake stuff that you see on Instagram. Ivermectin has a bunch of ads on TV. Do it, and then come back and tell me if you cured your disease. Did you? Because there's been people on ivermectin for 10 years for their arthritis, and they still have
Mm.
arthritis. Whereas there's people on hydrogen peroxide and chlorine dioxide for 6 months, and they get rid of their RA. So
Oh.
see, one gets rid of it, one just treats it. So there's really big differences, and you wouldn't know the difference unless you try both. And I'm cool with everyone trying both. And write down how you feel and see if you're getting better. If you're not getting better, try something else. And this is what everyone wants to be their own doctor, but no one wants to practice. And a doctor has doctor practices. They practice. And a lot of people right now nowadays are just like listening to people, buying all the stuff, not doing it, not
Yeah.
practicing, talking louder than everyone, interrupting you while they still have very clear parasitic problems. And you're just like,
They want the quick fix. That's the reality we live in. They want the quick fix.
they want the quick fix, and it's not going to be that kind of journey. And when you start looking at the fiction that has kind of explained what we're seeing right now, there are these epics. They are they are fiction about wars that last thousands of years. And yes, I do consider the Bible as one of these edited mythology texts because people,
Mm.
if you ever talk about the Bible,
Yep.
they're like, oh, it's been edited. So therefore, like, don't even pay attention to it. I'm like, you don't realize it's the most read book in the world. It doesn't even matter if it's
Mm.
all made up. It could literally been written by a 5-year-old, but because it was the very first book printed on the printing press, and because it is
Yep.
the book, which also there's been like human sacrifice tied to the Bible because people have
Oh,
died for the
wow.
Bible. So,
Right.
how many people in China have died because they found a Bible in the house? Same goes for all these other countries. So, it's like you have now human sacrifice, again, magic involved in how real this story is. So, even if it was edited or made up, it still holds huge gravitas because just like Wizard of Oz, just like Tolkien, just like Stranger Things and Lego movies and Alien movies, because it's in our consciousness, it now could happen. And people always go, oh my God, the guy who wrote that is a 33-degree Mason. Ill. You guys don't even know what that means. That means he was able to create. If you are a 33-degree Mason, that means you are now a master and now you can create one of these stories that could possibly basically come true. And some people are bad that are doing this. Some people are getting paid to do certain outcomes, sure. And there's a lot of people out there who did the opposite and wrote the story so good outcomes would also happen as well. And that's why we just look at everything. I always tell people to wear your protection, wear your whole armor of God, whatever your protection is to you. Do that mainly for discernment because we do know we're going into poop covered information. Especially if it's a Marvel made by Disney, then that's why I try to not talk about Disney Marvel like as much as I can, even though they
Mm.
like talk about everything I talk about after I talk about it. Um, it's because I don't like their telling of the story. But there are other versions out there. So if you are reading into a story, read the other versions of the text as well and see what kind of differences there are in between. Um, so yeah, a lot of my stuff is like I don't talk about aliens, I talk about parasites, and I go into the archons and the asteroids that basically were with us in the origin of making our world and the bugs that very well could have come alongside those asteroids or these even ancient Greek myths, which is still fiction, and covering the black goo that could be along with our creation. And why that's important is because we know parasites have the ability to epigenetically. A worm in an apple. It's the oldest image in fiction is a little worm popping out of an apple. So to me, the serpent in the garden, there's 3,000 species of snake. There's 6 million species of parasites. I
Cool.
100% believe by probability that the serpent in the fruit in the garden was a parasite, not a
Wow.
snake. And little
Makes a
things like
lot of
that are
sense.
changed. And
Mm.
yeah.
Quick question. Um how do you tie parasites to black goo? Is the black goo the parasites?
Do you want to be
Um,
balanced?
hold on. I know I talk about it here. So basically, if you are familiar with the story of, gosh, what's the name? Prometheus. Prometheus
Mhm.
is a story. It's actually when you watch the Alien movies, the
Mm.
prequel of the Alien movies is a Prometheus.
Yes.
And it's this storytelling of like we saw these cave paintings that showed um Saturn, the moons of Saturn. So we go to the moons of Saturn. And when we get there, we realize that there was another ancient civilization that seems to be long gone. And it has these it was almost like it was a weapons factory. It's really weird. And then the people start opening the weapons, and it's this black goo parasite that gets into the body, takes over the body,
Mm.
creates a half this scary the alien that we know of, and then the alien movies start, but it's really like a mixture of human and this black goo from Saturn. If you are aware of the
Saturn.
symbolism of the Saturn
Yep.
slave masters to the world, you start realizing, okay. And then people tie in the Lilith 13th tribe stories and programming to this, and it's kind of like, okay, well, there's a show out there called there's a movie called House of Dracula. It was written in 1945 by Bram Stoker, and it's all about Dracula. Like, he was having this crazy realization that it was just a parasite in his blood, which made him a vampire. So he was like, "Oh, I wonder if I take the parasite out." Like, it was weird. So, you start to see a lot of Vlad the Dracula coming up, regardless if he was good or bad. The recent royal family is connected to him. The recent royal family doesn't eat garlic. They don't eat all the stuff that kills parasites. It gets really weird. And that goes into all the stories of the UK and dragons, which, again, why did J.R. Tolkien care about Disney covering dragons and Merlin and everything? It's because it's almost like the bad guys, the vampires, the bad vampires are telling their story. And of course, whenever we talk about vampires, I always just throw out there, if the story of vampires is real, then that means there has to be good vampires, regardless of what you think. It's in every single vampire movie, from The Matrix
Yeah.
to Twilight, everything. They all have
Interview
good
with a
vampires.
Vampire.
What was that?
Interview with a Vampire.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm.
So Anne Rice covers this, and Anne Rice did come to Jesus after writing all that. And she did, like, I think, make other books in a different light of it, because she basically realized it was real. And she's like, "Oh, I don't want to just tell your story, because I very well see just your story." And I always say Travel Channel is the vampires version. So, check people's IMDb, see if they have more Travel Channel and History Channel on their IMDb, or if they have, like, "Oh, I got kicked off Twitter with Donald Trump." You'll be able to see who's censored and who's not censored really quickly, and who's trying to push this vampiric agenda versus who's not.
Hmm.
This is my Rumble. So the girls mentioned, yes, I did do a Harry Potter 7-part series. I don't know why when it uploaded, part 2 came out before part 1, and no one's watching part 2, but it's actually a pretty good one. So just throwing that out there. I did oh, this one was good. Halloween through the 5th of November. It was basically The Nightmare Before Christmas and V for Vendetta. And that explains all of this Germanic lore and very interesting things with the British being taken over by the Germans, and really the whole world was. Uh, and the V for Vendetta story is about the rightful heirs of the throne basically taking back their power eventually. Me and Jenny Constantine covered Wednesday and boarding schools. That was a lot more dark than I thought it was going to be. Not gonna lie, we did a lot of cancer, diabetes, exorcism talks during this time, which I highly suggest everyone watch. Those are not fiction, those are very real. Um, Me and Jenny did the 7 principles of hermetics to understand the very, very basics of magic and what these magicians have to do for us in order for it to work. And then we go into Christmas folklore and video game folklore, Lego movie folklore, magic in plain sight, zombies, all the things, brain bugs, like science fiction. So it was a really cool series. Every other video is um either health or like the hero's journey, Matrix, Dune, Avatar. And my older stuff that we're just getting into now, I didn't care about thumbnails as much. I just wanted the video out. So it's not as pretty, but the information over here is really, really good as well.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
lots of awesome stuff there.
Any questions from anyone?
We have some comments.
Mhm.
Haven't seen any questions like people
Good.
saying, "Wow, I love this." Someone said, "I love all she's saying so far. My gosh, this is all what I've learned about in the last 3 years after our mold exposure. I want to learn all that she knows. Protect this woman for real."
Oh,
Oh.
thank you. Mold. Oh my gosh. Mold. Okay, okay. So quick caveat about mold. Mo- Mold is the real black goo that you guys all have to worry about.
Mm.
Mold is like the worst alien that I can imagine. And when I talk, I think we all have it living it within us, especially if you have an older house or have spent any time in an older house. So I do love oxidizers like hydrogen peroxide, ozone, chlorine dioxide. And when you have a mold problem in the house, the people who come to clean it are probably using one of these three oxidizers to treat like the walls and everything because it works so well. There's the most clinical studies over these three things in particular, but there's also parasitic microdosing protocols out there that are using hydrogen peroxide, ozone, or chlorine dioxide. So, if you do have mold allergy allergy symptoms, I bet 80% of America does, and they don't realize it. Those
Mhm.
coughs that never go away, definitely just microdose a little tiny bit of this chlorine dioxide or hydrogen peroxide. Your body makes this when it's your body makes those two things, and ozone is in our atmosphere. So I'm never scared of things that my body makes as long as it's in teeny tiny increments. So there's many protocols, Jim Humble, 1 Minute Cure, Carrie Rivera, Andreas Caliker, they all have these type of mold protocols. And I always tell people to the point that I think I actually made it happen for me in this house. I always said if someone has a haunted house, I can make it unhaunted because you would just put like chlorine dioxide in each room. And there's a X-Files episode where the two, I don't know, Scully, Mulder and Scully go
Mhm.
into, I forgot if it was a cave system. And they basically inhale mold spores and they start going crazy. And I'm like, yep, that's literally how real life haunted houses work. You guys think you're hearing stuff because the mold is invisible and it literally goes into your nasal cavity and it goes to the blood and brain, and this causes psychosis. Look up parasites cause dementia, parasites cause manic, parasites cause schizophrenia, parasites cause all these things. And you're like, oh my God, that's how mold could like legitimately make a haunted house. And some people are never the same after going into one of these haunted houses because the mold has now jumped into their body. And it's like, that's legit. There's definitely houses on top of broken ley lines. That's a different story. But a lot of these supernatural things are really just people breathing in mold. And then I moved into an old house and we had mold allergies and I gained like 20 pounds and I'm tiny. I'm like 4'10". So 20 pounds on a 4'10" girl, like I had to spend the first 4 months of my year, people were coming in suits and doing their removal. And then I was having to do chlorine dioxide and crazy stuff myself to get rid of mold. It makes your body hurt. No one tells you like when you have a mold problem, your joints just hurt so bad. It's a weird, weird, weird parasite. But yeah.
I have a quick question,
Yeah.
Alexia. Someone said that they have MMS. Humble's protocol is so hard to follow. I'm assuming you probably have a video on the MMS protocol, right?
I do. Okay. So, okay, couple things on that, and I cover it in my video. So my page 2, it's called Thank you, Bubs. It's called Step 2 Oxidizers. This one right here, I cover all the different oxidizers that I feel comfortable with talking about. And we
Mm.
cover like, oh, okay, these are the ozone machines. These are the methylene blue. These are all the things. And then I spend a lot of time covering the um chlorine dioxide and me doing it. Now, I'm just used to doing it. I did like 36 drops of it when I got started. This is a video of a video, so it's like badly done. And it's hard. I'm not gonna lie. It's so hard to do, but I've learned
What
that
makes it
hydrogen
hard?
peroxide, okay, how do I put this? Stop share. So when you're doing any kind of parasite cleansing, this could be pharmaceutical stuff, fobendazole, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine. This could be herbs, which is wormwood, yarrow, dandelion is wonderful. Any kind of herb kills some kind of bug. This could be the stuff I talk about. Like I talk about all of them, but I like chlorine dioxide, ozone, hydrogen peroxide, methylene blue, turpentine for like the big portion of your cleanse, and just one of them. Like just pick one and go with it. If chlorine dioxide's too heavy, still keep it for cleaning purposes and like putting in the humidifier. Um, Baths, great for that kind of stuff for the animals, but maybe try 12% hydrogen peroxide.
Okay.
Again, 1 minute cure book, hydrogen peroxide. They sell the 12% a lot of places, and you basically just put like 20 drops. Read the book, but you just put a
Yeah.
couple drops in a big thing of water, slowly drink on it throughout the day. It's much easier than chlorine dioxide is what I've gathered from people. And then you start hearing when you look
Mm.
this up, you start hearing the fake news people coming in going, "Don't do it. It causes oxidative damage." And you're
Mm.
just like, "I can't do it. It causes oxidative damage." Oh my
Mm.
God, people. When we're doing this cleansing, the things that we're kicking out of our body have teeth and have claws, and
Oh.
they realize that you're killing them. So they bite and hold on to you, and they rip you apart to try and like stay in your body, and like they start fighting back. So, yes, everything is going to cause this oxidative damage a little bit when it comes to oxidizers, even clove. But the reason it's happening is because you're actively in a war with bugs. Yeah, it's a battleground. Like they're trying to stay alive. So this oxidative damage, it's microscopic. There are bugs living in your tissue, which guess what? To get them out, you need to rip the tissue to pull their body out.
Oh.
So we
Oh my
basically want
gosh.
to realize, okay, we are also healing these teeny, teeny, tiny microscopic tears when we're doing this cleansing. So because of that, we're going to, oh, that's easy. I can see both of you now. Because we're doing that, if you have iron, which is why I like pink salt more than Celtic salt, because pink
Mhm.
salt is pink because it's iron. Iron makes
Mm.
new red blood cells. New red blood cells can help you heal, like you'll be able to now have more blood and oxygen going to the little tiny tissue areas, and it'll be able to heal itself. So, and also if you have a charcoal, an activated coconut or hardwood charcoal, if you have zeolite or diatomatrix earth or any of these clays, there's a bunch of clays out there. Those also give carbon, and we are carbon. We're the carbon that Bill Gates is trying to get rid of. It gives us the carbon to remake more of us, and not so much stem cells, but it will be able to heal yourself. So that's why I like to go very slowly, because if you start noticing you're having a lot of bloating or too much constipation, too much diarrhea, which really diarrhea is constipation anyway. It's so hard to explain
Same
that to
thing.
people.
Yep.
It's your body trying to flush out a
Yes.
blockage. So people are like, they
Mm.
hear that they have diarrhea. I'm like, okay, you're constipated. They're like, no, I'm not. That's the opposite. I'm like, no, you're constipated. It's trying to flush out.
The
So you need
last
enough
efforts.
minerals. If you have minerals, you'll heal from everything. If you have minerals, you'll absorb everything. After you do your oxidizer that nighttime, let's say you go a little bit heavy. Let's say you did 20 drops of MMS or hydrogen peroxide and you got a little sick. It could be like allergy symptoms where your nose won't stop running. It could be diarrhea, it could be anything. You can just take charcoal and it'll get rid of that bad symptom because it grabs the rest of the hydrogen peroxide and it gets it out of your body. It grabs the dead bug bodies that you're killing and it just like clears you out. So some kind of carbon product right before bedtime is good to heal all night and then start again the next day. We do this around the full moon because that's when the bugs are out fighting, copulating, all that stuff. You'll feel them. That's why the hospitals
Mm.
are like crazy packed during the full moon, and any nurse who's done ER will be like, yeah, full moon is crazy. And yes, that's when we remove parasites. When people go to like the Amazon and like come back with a worm coming out of their eye, they're taught at the hospital to remove it at the full moon. So
We have a couple questions.
yeah,
If it's an okay time to interject.
yeah, totally.
So one question, can you suggest a pink salt? So many have plastic in them.
Okay,
So
so a couple things with that. One,
yeah.
I don't give about plastic because I'm doing hydrogen peroxide and chlorine dioxide, which already have hundreds of proof that they grab onto the microplastics and pull them out. Not only grab on, they like melt plastic to where if you keep it activated in a plastic baggie or cup, it'll eat away at the plastic baggie or cup like overnight. So I know that the fake detox world is always trying to give you guys reasons not to cleanse. And they'll always say, that salt has radiation in it. Okay, this thing happened called World War II, where a radiation bomb blew up and it got the whole world with radiation. So literally every single thing that we have and touch has radiation because of the World War II. And then after World War II, Chernobyl happened, where all the radiation was leaked into the oceans. And then after that, every 5 years, Tokyo leaks radiation from something or another into the oceans. So everything, we're glowing. So it makes me laugh when people go, the microplastics, the this, the that. It's like, if you're not doing oxidizers, I can totally see how that's scary because you're not getting them out of you. If you're
Mm.
using an oxidizer, you know that it just melts it and pulls it out. Also, you see the microplastics and calcium and all these mineral deposits, you see it coming out of your skin. Like it won't be
Mm.
long. It's just usually for like a week, but you'll have a weird rash somewhere on your body. Most people have it on their head or like trunk, and it'll be these little things coming out of your body. And when you go to like flake them off, or if you take a detox bath and you look at the top, it's microplastic. Like it's just little
Wow.
stuff that's being pushed out of you. So I'm not too scared of the toxins that are definitely in everything you're taking. Even
Mm.
down, I'm not scared of capsules. A lot of people, these are good gel capsules, but a lot of people don't even like taking medicine that's good for you because it's in a capsule. And I'm like, I have 3 clinical studies that prove that the stuff I take afterwards gets that out of my body. So stop being scared of our weapons that our enemies using. You have bigger weapons, I promise you. Um,
Love
and
that.
if you don't know about a certain
Yeah.
toxin, look it up. Look up chlorine dioxide, hydrogen peroxide, and then that toxin, and you'll see. I've rarely not had a scenario where there hasn't been some kind of study done that proves that it chelates or just like melts, degrades, whatever you're worried about.
Awesome. One other question. Did you want to say something else?
Yes. So with
Go
that
ahead.
being said, my favorite place to get the pink salt is American. So I will try to stay away from Himalayan pink salt because it's going to be that's the location on Earth that has the most radioactive material, like fresh.
Mm.
American pink salt, it's still there's a bunch of it. So I would pick that.
I use the brand Real Salt. I don't know if you know about it. It is pink and it's I think it's mined out of Utah. I actually went to their farm in Utah. They have a really nice farm to table restaurant in Salt Lake. Um,
That's cool. I've heard a lot of farming in Utah for the pink salt, so I would trust that over anything else.
okay, cool. Let's see. So Jemay asked, what about the water purification treatment? 28% sodium chloride, part A, and part B, 4% hydrochloric acid solution.
Okay. So this is one of those fake things that people tried to derail the entire movement from, where there's a book out there that says use 24% sodium chloride and 5%. So it's ever so slightly different than what is being sold. But what has been found out is sodium chloride, they needed to make it a little bit heavier of a percentage to last in storage, like to stay stable for months on end kind of thing. So they started making, if you find a set that has 28%. I'm personally not scared of it. I've had to buy them and they worked. And I know how chemistry works. I know that the amount of salt to activator is only going to activate the 24%. So, and I'm not worried if it activates ever so slightly more. This is why it's your job to write down, oh, I felt a little nauseous today. I'm going to take 20% less tomorrow so I don't feel that nauseated. So that might happen where you might take a little bit more from like a higher dosage, but people say that on a lot of Facebook sites now, where if you say you're doing a 28% kit to make chlorine dioxide, they're like, you're fake news. And they take you down because you said the 28% instead of the 24%. So it's making all the people who read that, again, everyone's on the autistic spectrum. Remember Rain Man? He had to follow rules exactly. Well, we're dealing with a bunch of autists, everyone, not just some people, everyone. So if they hear, oh, that's 28%, I can't do it. I can't do it. It's just a reason for me not to do it. It's like, no, it works just fine. So yes, that there are a bunch of kits out there that are 28%, and there's a bunch of kits out there that are like 26 and 24%. I've used 2 of them and they all work great. It's fine.
Okay. Awesome. And I can't believe it. We're like almost at the hour. How is that possible? I feel like we didn't even get into the
I know we didn't. I
meat
can
and
keep it up
potatoes.
for a different day. It's fine. We did this last time too.
So crazy. We're gonna have a part 3.
I know. It's just so much amazing information and like, yeah.
Regina,
Love
are
it.
you going to be at Journey to Truth?
We really want to
We
go.
really
We
want to
are
go so bad.
planning to go. Yeah, we really
That would
want to
be
go.
fun. We could
They're
do
actually going to
part
be on
3
the show
there.
soon.
You are?
They're going to be here. They're going to be
Oh,
here.
tell them I
Oh, they're
said
coming
hi.
on here. Yeah.
Yeah, they're coming on the show.
Oh,
So it's gonna
good.
be
Okay, so
awesome.
like how I did with the girls, the Harry Potter episode, I asked the boys on Journey to Truth to do Star Wars. So our next big dig is going to be Star Wars. I hate Star Wars, but my husband loves it.
Oh, I am
So,
really excited about that one. I
yeah,
love
I
Yeah,
need
Star
to
Wars.
I love
catch
Star
up with
Wars too.
Tyler again. So, that'll be fun.
I want to
Yay.
learn about the different agendas. I mean, it's kind of you can see a lot of the truths in Star
Oh, yeah.
Wars. I mean, if you're
It's like our
aware,
true
But Disney
history.
took it over.
yeah,
It's like
you
what
can
Tolkien said,
see,
don't let Disney hold on to the story.
yeah, you can see a lot of the truths if you're more aware. You can see a lot of the truths, but I would love to like, I'm sure you'd point out things I didn't even think of, you know? So that one I'm excited about.
That'll be
So
fun.
we got our fingers crossed. We're gonna manifest it
We really
somehow.
want to be there.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you're there, we can all do a part 3 or part 4. That'd be fun.
Yay, that would be awesome.
Oh, live. Yeah, that would definitely be fun. Well, gosh, I hate to wrap it up, but we did get some interesting talking points in for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
And yeah, we'll do this again.
so just remind everybody, and I'm gonna put your Rumble, I'm gonna actually put all your links in
Yeah.
below the YouTube and in the
Okay.
Facebook chat we're in now. I'll put your Telegram, I'll put your Rumble, I'll put your Ricky Leaks. Those are the places, the main places, right? Telegram, Rumble,
Yeah,
Ricky Leaks.
that's for right now. That's where we're at. Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
Any other way you would want to be contacted or anything else you want to plug that
I've been
you're
kicked
working
off
on?
everything else. Those are the only place for now. There might be in the
Okay.
future. I don't have it in me right now.
Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna just end the recorded version. We'll hang
Yeah.
out for a
Thank you
few
so much
minutes.
for being here. It's always fascinating to talk to you and to hear all of your information. Like mind blowing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I see another question. I'll get to that in just a second. I'm gonna end the recorded version. We'll hang
Okay.
out for a few minutes. So Facebook group, hang tight.
Yeah.
And thank you to everybody who's watching this YouTube, Rumble, audio versions, Facebook, everything. Again, if you want to see the before and after, please join the Facebook group. That's where we kind of
Yeah.
get the unedited raw version of us. But thank you so much for supporting us, and Alexia, as always. It's always a fun time. Time just Flew by in two
really
I
did.
thought we were 30 minutes and I was like, we're coming up on an hour. I'm not even done with my thingies. Whatever. It's fine.
crazy. But yeah, it's been an awesome episode and thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. See you.